Hello and welcome to episode 50 of Talking Asperger's with Andrew. My name's Andrew Marsh and I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome at 51, which is 7 years ago. And that's when everything changed for me. That's when the perspective as to who I was and why I was different. And I've always had that notion that I was different from other people around me growing up. And having had a career as a geologist for 23 years until the credit crunch came along, I now use my lived experience of having Asperger's and my work as a geologist to help better manage Asperger's syndrome at work. So I help employers and I help people on the spectrum to find the right tips, strategies, coping mechanisms, and techniques to help them manage people who they have in their business who are on the spectrum, have Asperger's syndrome or autism. So what I want to do today is have a bit of a recap. This is episode 50, that's which we started back in October last year. So I want to have a recap of some of the key skills that people with Asperger's have, and I want to cover 3 or 4 of those in today's talk. And if you find that this resonates with you or with some of the people you have in your business, then that's great. That's great because there are things that you can do to help them be better at work, how you can support them to be better at work. Because your job as a business is to be productive, is to have things produced in whatever it is that you do, and to make a profit. Businesses have to make profit to pay their staff, to pay their overheads, pay their directors, so that they can invest for the future. If you support people with Asperger's syndrome in the workplace in the right way for them, not necessarily how you would do it for a neurotypical person, but in the right way for that person, that individual, then you're going to get the best from them. They're going to feel valued and your business is going to thrive. And that person is going to want to come to work thinking, yes, I'm doing good work, I'm appreciated, and I'm supported, and I can work in the right environment for me. So I'm going to start with that particular one. And although it's not a skill of people who have Asperger's, but it's about their environment. I think we ought to set out their environment first of all. Um, the Equality Act of 2010 in the UK sets out quite clearly that employers need to make reasonable adjustments to allow for people, whatever their um, needs are in the workplace, so that they can work efficiently, effectively, and productively. So taking someone with Asperger's, for example, they might be sensitive to noise and light. Those are two that are triggers for me. And without trying to put labels on people and say, the guy with Asperger's, sit them in the quiet corner that's a bit dark. Actually, we're just putting someone with Asperger's in a dark corner that's quiet might actually be the best place for them, because they're sensitive to noise and sensitive to light. Having a somewhere that is quieter, that is not as bright, or they have angle poised lights rather than the big fluorescent tubes in the ceiling, might actually just be the right place to have someone with Asperger's so that they can work productively and effectively. So um, we need to get away from some of the stigmas and the preconceived ideas that we have about people, by putting naughty people or difficult people in the quiet corner to get them out the way so that they're not seen. Need to get past that and think, actually, let's talk to this person. How can we best support you and what works for you? And they'll say, yeah, not so good on noise and light. So don't sit them next to the printer. Don't sit them right next to the window if there's not a curtain or a blind that they can use. If you have got fluorescent overhead lights, try and think, well, can we take 2 or 3 of them out where that person works, so it's not as bright and intense, because that really can be intense after a long day. Um, so talk to the person, find out what it is that would help them work better, because that's what you want. You don't want someone struggling in a work environment because they can't work and they can't focus and concentrate because it's too noisy or it's too light. They're not going to be productive. It's going to increase their tension. It's going to increase their stress levels. They may have to take time off work because of those things, when finding what works for them, which in my case would be a nice quiet place that's not too brightly lit, or I can have angle point lights, would be ideal for me. Find out what it is that works for that person and support them in that so that they can be productive. Some other people, I know a fellow advocate, autism advocate, of a friend of mine, she's particularly sensitive to smells. So people who are sensitive to smells, you don't want to sit them in the desk right next to the door that leads to the corridor to the canteen, but you can get kitchen smells coming in. That could be very off-putting and very distracting, and can actually grate, if I can use the word grate, against being comfortable. That it's more than just a bit of uncomfort and a discomfort, and just yeah, you'll be all right with it. Get over it yourself, sort of thing. People can struggle with that. I'm just going to admit someone into the room. So those are things that could help. So I'm just going to welcome Sam, who's just joined me. Hello, Sam.
Hello.
How are you?
Sorry, I'm so late. I had a slight feline crisis, but it's over. It's done.
That's quite all right. Good to see you. Thanks for joining me. I'm just going to have a very quick recap. First of all, are you happy that I'm recording the conversation?
Yeah, all good. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm doing a recap of some of the key strengths that people with Asperger's syndrome have, because it's episode 50. This is episode 50. Can't believe it's 50. And I was just setting the scene talking about environment. And I had just mentioned someone who I know who is particularly sensitive to smells in the workplace. So I just briefly mentioned that without mentioning names, that someone who I know who's an advocate like myself is particularly sensitive to smells. And I've covered noise and light before you joined us. So I wanted to talk a bit more about some of the key skills, because people often say, oh, people with Asperger's syndrome, they're difficult, they're rigid, they don't take instruction well. Calm down. Need to think about what it is you're asking someone to do and finding the right way to support them in doing that, because they have great skills, they have great abilities, but just as I've just been talking about the right environment, you have to encourage them and nurture those skills so that they can flourish. Because if they do well and flourish, your business is going to do well. It makes sense. So one of the things is their creativity. I write books, and I love writing books, and so I get creative bursts where I will literally be sitting doing something, and suddenly, boom, there's an idea. If I can get to my computer and start typing, fantastic. Just open a Word document and I start typing, and I free write. I don't worry about spelling, punctuation, format. I just start typing so that I can brain dump that idea, because one sentence becomes a paragraph becomes a page, and I'll just allow myself to immerse myself in that idea, and I'll come back to it 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times within that day or within the week, and I can have 6 or 7 pages of an idea, characters, plot, theme, story. And if you have someone who's great at creative thinking, then they may be very good at problem solving, because they're thinking differently from the norm. And I'm going to use a phrase that I use quite often on my sessions. If you always employ the same type of person doing the same type of work, guess what? You're going to get the same type of result, which might be fine for certain situations. But if you've got problems that need solving, and you've got technical challenges in your business, or you have a client who's got a particular demand that you think, oh, not sure if we can deal with that, but we'll take it on anyway because it's business and it's a client. The person you have with autism or Asperger's syndrome might just be the person who can solve that problem. Yes, Cam, go.
I didn't want to just interrupt. I
That's
just wanted to
okay.
make sure that was all right. I'm trying to use good discipline.
Thank you.
um, the point I wanted to just bring up there was, you are so right. I mean, you're 100% right. And when people hear the phrase, when you go for a job interview and you don't get it, we don't think it's a good fit. That is where an alarm bell should be ringing if an interviewer has those words coming out of their mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the person you should be employing.
Yes. Absolutely. I completely agree, because if you've got everyone who's exactly the same,
Yeah.
where's the creative spark going to come from?
I've walked into places where it looks like a clone shop. It's scary. One place, it was like the full-on man bun, waistcoats, beards. And I was like, wow, are you making these out the back?
And if we extend that into diversity in all its forms, If you're employing people who are from different races, different cultures, different background, different ethnicity, different sexual identity, different gender, different countries, different languages, it may be that the person who you've got sitting in your workplace who's been with your firm for 3 years and who's come from Poland or the Eastern Europe, for example, might have the solution to the problem that you've had for 10 years because they fixed it 3 years ago, 5 years ago, when they were working in Poland. But if you don't give them the opportunity to speak and have their say, you're just going to shut them down and not give them the opportunity to say, actually, do you know what? We had this problem before and this is how we fixed it. And everyone's going to go, wow, you really? Are you sure? But if you don't have an environment, and this is where management needs to be leaders rather than managers, if you don't have an environment where everyone is given the opportunity to say their piece, to stick their hand up and ask the daft question, because there is no such thing as a daft question. I went through 23 years as a geologist in the construction industry, and I would be sitting in meetings and I'd be thinking, why is no one asking this question? So eventually, just somewhat mischievous curiosity would get the better of me, and I would ask the question. And there would be blank looks around the room. They go, what? Eh? I said, no, hear me out. We talk about it. We come up with a solution. No, it may not have been what I said directly, but it made other people think about their input that they could make that could solve the problem. And outside some of these meetings, my boss would say to me, Andrew, why did you think of that? And me, with still my mischievous curiosity head, I would sometimes say, but the question you should be asking is, why didn't you think of it? And they go, oh, because you're then threatening their ego, you're threatening their authority, and all of these things suddenly become don't know if I'm sure that I really want to have Andrew in the meeting next time. I might ask him outside the meeting if he's got any suggestions, but then I'll take it in as mine, which is fine, and and deal with it that way. So I implore employers, I implore them, please, when you have problems, speak to your teams.
Absolutely. And
Don't
that scenario you just had there, Andrew, I'm jumping in, like I said, I wouldn't do, but that scenario, exact scenario, has happened to me multiple times. And the advice I would love to give to other neurodivergent people who might find themselves in that situation where I've got a million ideas here, I could solve this problem like in a heartbeat, but they've been encouraged
I was
to
going to
shut
say,
up.
I was going to say conditioned, but encouraged. Yes.
Conditioned, encouraged, persuaded to button it because they're threatening the ego in the room. There's a technique I use that works really well. So you can still ask a question in the room
Okay.
and protect the ego. So instead of just asking the question that's burning, you say instead, say you're the ego in the room, Andrew. I'd go, oh, Andrew, I wonder if you can help me out. Is it okay if I ask you a question? So most people will say yes because they're curious. But I don't ask the question straight away. I will say, do you know anyone who could answer this question?
Yeah.
Then I give my burning question. And then if they know the answer, they look wonderful, don't they? Oh, all knowledgeable. Oh, fantastic, ego-wise. And if they don't know the answer, they'll probably be able to signpost you to somebody.
Yeah.
They still look amazing because they know who to signpost you to.
Exactly.
No ego problem. No, I don't know the answer to that question. You've given them like a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
And that's what I used many times over. Nobody realized I was using it, which was even better. So
Yeah.
I did have to be silent.
It's and that's a first class example of how you have found a way to deal with a situation that might be problematical and might be testing someone's ego, but you're moving the situation forward. You're helping someone who wants help but doesn't feel that they want help. It's that juxtaposition of I need help, but I'm certainly not going to ask for it. I'm going to sit in my office for 2 hours and throw bits of paper at the wall and shout and swear at people that come in and disrupt me, when they should be saying, okay, team, this is the problem. Why don't we get a cup of tea, sit down in half an hour's time and have a chat about it? Nothing is off the table. There is no such thing as a daft question. We need to solve this problem. The client is paying us money to solve this problem. They want our professional opinion to solve this problem. Let's see what we can do together,
Oh
because
yeah.
I don't have the answer.
No, and I used to love the statement or question. So what would we do if we were building this from scratch?
Mm.
If this was a new thing to us, how would we approach it? If we forget all the stuff that's in the way, that's possibly even causing the problem we're experiencing, how would we do this if we started again? And often you'll hear groans around the table and oh, you know, but that's absolutely a valid question.
Yes.
Because you're concentrating on all of the problems, you can't see past them to where we want to get to. So let's go big picture.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
let's look at it fresh. And eventually they come round, usually. But again, it's a question or a phrase that you can use, but I would say use with caution.
Yes. Yes. I have been. I mean, there was a classic example. We were drilling a water well for a company, and when you drill the well, you have to test it. How much water is going to come out of this, and is it going to be a bathtub that once we've got all the water out from a certain area, there's no more unless it comes in very slowly, in which case it's not going to be viable? Or are we getting loads of water and it's going to keep coming today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year? So you have to do various tests with that. And something happened that didn't go according to plan, but it's fine. These things happen. And it just so happened that the hydrogeologist who was dealing with it felt the need to get the contractor in and have a meeting. So they decided to have this meeting. Now, I was the guy on site watching what happened, watching what the men were doing, making my notes, had an idea of what was going on, all the rest of it. They had the meeting without me. And in my opinion, they came up with the wrong conclusion. But they were happy. What? Why have me involved in the project if I am just there to be someone with a clipboard whose opinion you don't trust? What's the purpose in that? You're just charging the client fees for no good reason whatsoever. But that there have been more than one occasion where I have been the person who's been deeply involved in the day-to-day of what had been going on with something on site, and they've had meetings and they've left me out. And they told me what they've agreed afterwards, and I'll sit down and go, oh my God. Do you realize that actually contradicts what it says in the contract, or that's not what I would do? And then they go, oh, no. This is where the higher echelons sort of dust you under the carpet and just pretend that you don't exist and go away and do something, but just get out of my.
And I think that's where we get tripped up as neurodivergent individuals, because we're task orientated and they are not just ego, but politics orientated. So they're worried about how they look, their status, their position with their peers. They're worried about what's going to happen only in the next 6 months or so, possibly because their jobs might have high turnover. Whereas we're probably looking at the bigger picture, the longer term, let's do the right fix now, first time, get it right first time, instead of plaster all the way along.
Yeah.
Possibly costing more money in the long run.
Yeah, the number of things I've had that have been stuck together with duct tape and glue, you know.
Exactly. So I think for people who are not neurodivergent, they might not be self-aware, and they might be making assumptions about how a neurodivergent person views the world and what drives them, their motivators, when in fact they're judging us by themselves.
Yes.
It's like judging us by their own limitations, if you like.
Yes.
So if they feel limited by corporate fear, then they'll see us as maverick because we're not influenced by corporate fear. We just want to get the job done.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't care about impressing people.
No, give me a job, let me do it. Perfect. Hand it back. There you go. Thank you very much. Have you got any questions? And
Absolutely. And don't make me stand up for an hour telling you how fabulous I am in order to get a raise or a number or something.
yeah,
Why can't you just see what I've done and go, that's it, that's brilliant.
yeah, yeah. So creativity is it's one of my big traits, my skills, if you want to call it that. Another one of mine is focus. I am railway line focused on something when I am doing it. Distractions, get out of the way. I am railway line focused. I I will not be sat at my phone doing this at the workplace. Oh, look what was on Facebook, or look what happened on Twitter, or all these other things that go on. I'm not interested in what happened in the football, strictly EastEnders, Coronation Street, AN other. I am not interested in the water cooler conversations about X, Y, and Z. Doesn't doesn't interest me. It actually, it's the opposite of interest me. It actually grates. It grates to the point of extremely uncomfortable with this idle chit chatter and nonsense about nothing. Oh, sorry, I just got off my soapbox there, didn't I? But so I am absolutely laser line focused on what I'm doing. And when I'm writing books, I am boom. I will put in a shift, 8 hour shift, 10 hour shift, stop for toilet breaks, food, water. That's it. Bang. And I will work and I will write 5,000 words. I will write 10,000 words. And I absolutely laser line focus because that's what I'm doing. That's my job that I've got for the day is to write. I'm in the mood to write. Bang, I'm going to write. Just the same thing as when I was a geologist. Give me a task to do. Tell me I've got 3 days to do it. Bam, I will have it done at the end of 3 days. And I don't care less about your interdepartmental politics, your ego grabbing, your status, your anything that
Your
gets in the
pointless project meeting where nothing happens every week,
yeah,
which is a waste of my time.
yeah, exactly. I used to have to sit in a Monday morning at 9 o'clock for a weekly project allocation project allocation and task allocation meeting. Really? You 3 weeks ago you gave me a job that was going to take me 6 weeks. I'm doing that. Can I
So
carry
then
on
get
with
on
it?
with it.
Can I get on with it, please? Crazy. Do I need any
Oh,
resources? Yes, I told you last week I could do with some drafting, 2 or 3 days of a draftsman, but I won't need them till next week because I won't have the drawings prepared by till then. But other than that, I'm fine, thank you. Can I get back to my work? Oh no, you have to sit and listen to 10 other people tell them that what is important to them, but not important to me, because it's stopping me from
yeah.
doing my work.
Email me the headlines. I may read them later. Probably not.
Unfortunately, Sam, this was in the days before we had computers. So yeah, everything was done by hand, longhand, the lot. The only computers
Sure.
we had was for technical software in the corner of the room, which was for
Send me a memo.
send me a memo. Exactly. That's what it would be. It would be send me a memo. But other than that, just, leave me
Oh yeah.
be. If I need something, I'll come and ask. Honestly, trust me,
Oh,
I will come and ask if there's something I am unsure about or feel that needs your input.
even when I was a project manager, so I had to have those weekly meetings because it was my project. Everyone else did a minimum of an hour in their project meetings. And then because we were in multiple buildings, people would have to travel in from all the other buildings. So overall, it could take 2 hours just to do a project meeting and get back to your desk. And yet we had this system, a bit like Zoom, I suppose it was called Link. And you could do a voice conference or whatever. And I'm like, well, I didn't need to look at each other. I know what you look like. Let's just do the voice conference bit, and then we can just, see stuff on our screen as we need to. And my meetings were 29 minutes long, no travel. We just, I gave them the actions and minutes from last week,
Yep.
the day before, so they had that. I haven't done my action.
Yes.
And then in the meeting, I'd be typing it up live.
Oh,
So you're because it's not that difficult to type stuff in at the same time, really isn't. And I'm not a touch typist or anything like that. They would say something and I go, right, hang on. right, next. And off we go. By the end of the meeting, I'd say, thanks very much. Cheerio. See you next week. They go, brilliant, best meeting ever. And then I would email them the updated actions and minutes, because I knew it was very unlikely if I hand wrote those minutes and actions that I would get round to them anytime soon.
Yeah.
And then I'd
Yeah.
stress about it.
Yeah.
And it'd sort of hang over my head like this.
Mm.
So it worked for me, and it definitely worked for them.
Yeah. I remember on a good side, I remember working in a project team with the client and the contractor. So it was a multi-skilled team. And we were having a meeting, and the boss came in, sat down and said, this meeting will take half an hour maximum. And everyone was like, okay, let's get on with it. Half an hour maximum. That was it. He stopped the meeting, finished it. Right, we got our actions. Let's go away and get on with it. We'll see you next week. Brilliant. He had many failings in many things, but managing a meeting that wanted to be half an hour, he made sure half an hour. That was it.
Absolutely.
Because
And
otherwise,
for anyone who's struggling with that, so if you're leading a meeting and you've got people who do love to talk and share anecdotes and things like that, the stories of why it won't work and all that, you can have a parking lot. So I used to have a flip chart piece of paper with a P on the top. And when people started doing the hot air thing, I'd go, can I just stop you there, Andrew? I'm really interested to hear this story, but if we've got time, can we hear it at the end, just so we can make sure we can get through the agenda?
Yeah.
Because we've only got a limited time and I know we can't overrun.
Yeah.
So I'd write Andrew and then story about and there'd be several on the thing. And then at the end of the meeting, even if we had like 2 or 3 minutes left, I'd go back to the parking lot and I'd say, so returning to the things that we wanted to park for now, are any of these things meetings that need to take place outside of this meeting? No, fantastic. Anybody want to share their anecdote? No, it's fine now. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. You've given them the opportunity, but then they've realized that actually it doesn't really need to be said anyway, and it was just going to be hot air from me to make myself look good.
Exactly. So I took back control, but without making them feel small.
Yes.
I actually made them feel acknowledged and respected.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a manipulation, but sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
So that you get a great outcome for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole purpose of a meeting is to be further forward at the end of it than you were when you walked in the door. And if you can't do that, then don't have the meeting. Because there's no point listening to X number of people all telling them how wonderful they are and what they've sorted this week. If we can't get further forward than before we started, then don't have the meeting. I'm just going to make executive decisions. And then people will come to me and say, oh, not sure about that decision. Well, yeah, let's talk about it then. But then, businesses with egos, I struggled with that, and those techniques you've just said there, Sam, are fantastic, because, as you say, you're giving them the opportunity, you're acknowledging their presence, and you're acknowledging their skill level. So you're giving them the recognition without giving them control of what's going on, so that they feel as though they've contributed, they feel as though they've had a chance to make their piece, say their piece, but you've managed the outcome. Definitely outcome driven. Yeah. Fantastic. Like it. So yeah, focus is one of my big things is focus and creativity. What else have I got down here? Although we are getting short on time, is there anything you wanted to add on key skills that people on the spectrum have?
I think it's they need to be trusted to know what's good for them. So because a lot of neurodivergent people are really self-aware, they've ended up that way because they've spent their life observing others and masking and modifying their behavior. So they have to know where they're starting from in order to change. Whereas a lot of people who are not neurodivergent are completely oblivious about how they behave, their impact on the world, all that kind of stuff, the fallout. I'm not saying that they're bad people or anything like that. I'm just saying they're not self-aware. And again, it's a bit like this self-limiting belief. If you're not self-aware, you might think no one else is. So what I would like to say is that it's my belief that most neurodivergent people are more self-aware than you think. And whilst it might be difficult for them to self-advocate, to ask for what they need, you have to trust that if they say they can't do something, don't want to do something, don't understand something, or conversely, if they will deliver something by a really tight deadline because they know they can, because they'll work all night if they have to, because they really want to deliver it.
Yeah.
Because they've got such a strong work ethic.
Yeah.
To trust them that when they say, so I don't know how to do that right now, but I will by the end of today. Because a lot of us are really quick studies, and we're like, with the focus, we're able to deep dive into a subject really, really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really get the handle of it, and then bang, it looks like we're an expert. Good old polymaths that we might be.
The self-aware thing is I was just, while you were talking there, I was thinking back, and yeah, I am very self-aware, and I'm going to give you a really, really ridiculous example. Professional consulting engineer's office. My dilemma was what to wear to go to work that morning. I wore those trousers yesterday. Can I wear them again today? Can't wear that shirt. No, only shirts I only do once before they get washed. I wore that tie. Can I wear that tie? Does this jacket go with those trousers? But then I'm going to take my jacket off when I get there. If I wear that shirt, that's a purple shirt. Is it going to be deemed acceptable, or is that too left field for them? Have I cleaned my shoes? What goes with this? Do I wear that? Oh, it's getting summery. Do I roll my sleeves up on my shirt, or can I wear short sleeve shirts? And these are not short little questions. Open wardrobe door, bang, that one will do. Thank you very much. It's, what do I do? How do I put this? How do I clothe this person to still look as though I fit in with everyone else around in the office that I work with? And it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare trying to fathom out what to wear to go to work, particularly if I was going to site. Construction sites are muddy. Therefore, do I wear my suit? Do I wear my trousers and jacket, and then find somewhere to change into my jeans, or put a boiler suit on over the top? Is that acceptable? Do I put a boiler suit on over the top? Do I take my tie off or not take my tie off? All of those things suddenly become major dilemmas at 7 o'clock in the morning to get me to work, so that I feel as though I fit in. And I'm not sure that neurotypical people have that sort of dilemma as to.
They might have a fashion dilemma.
Yes.
As in sort of more superficial in terms of, is this fashionable?
Yes.
Kind of thing. Or am I last year's? Which to me sounds so terribly superficial. Sorry, everybody. But because I had the same dilemma about appropriate clothing versus comfort, etc., I ended up going very Steve Jobs. So I have a drawer that has black tops in it, and I have another drawer and it has black trousers in it. I have shoes, some are black. My DMs are not, they're covered in flowers because they don't obviously affect how I work. And I've got lots of jumpers that are, unsurprisingly, black. And black goes with black goes with black. So I know I'm never going to make a fashion faux pas, because black has never gone out of fashion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, nobody really notices what shape your clothes are when you're wearing black.
This is true. This is true.
So it doesn't matter what style they are either.
Yeah.
So I've still got clothes, this cardigan's one of them, that are over 20 years old. So not fashionable, but no one's ever said that's inappropriate.
Yes. Yes. I what shoes do I wear with these trousers or this suit? Oh, dear. And that kind of dilemma of getting yourself ready and prepared. I mean, it's just like nowadays, if we're going somewhere, so it doesn't have to, if we go to see friends, I have to ask Leslie, what's the dress code? Can I go in jeans? Do I have to wear my nice salmon trousers, which are very nice. They fit. They're comfortable. Is that too smart? Is that not smart enough? Do I need to put my suit on? But then my suit, I've put on weight since I put my suit, and it's, it's like a straitjacket. Uh, Suddenly, all of these things. Is it a polo shirt? Whether is it t-shirt? Can I get away with a t-shirt? Is it a polo? Do I have to be a shirt and collar? Um, do I? Am I okay with the jumper? Do I wear this jumper? That one's a bit long. What am I going to do if I get too hot? All of these things become major decisions, not from a fashion point of view, but from a what is appropriate for me to wear, and what happens if it gets hot, and things like that, and all of these things, as I said, are major dilemmas for someone just going out. If I'm just going to the shops, do I need to wear my jeans, or am I okay in my sweats? It's sweats weather now. We're getting on to winter, so I'm in sweats. So I keep warm. Is it is it is it all right? Can I wear my sweats? And I'm in Tesco's. Other supermarkets are available. I'm in Tesco's with a t-shirt, fleece, scarf, jacket, and hat on, and there's people in t-shirts and shorts, and I'm thinking, is one of us wrong? Is it me? Are you okay? Are you cold? And I don't know what's right and what's wrong. So I get to this stage where I feel as though I'm doing the right thing without knowing at all. And there are the fashion police going to be at the door in the supermarket saying, you really think it's appropriate to come into the supermarket wearing that? And
I've settled on clean and tidy
yes,
is acceptable. So
yes.
if I've got things with holes in, this is not the jumper with the holes in. I have holes under the arm that I need to darn. It's one of those things I keep getting around to not. But as long as I'm clean and tidy, I think I'll get away with it. And the older I get,
Yeah.
I'm going to be one of those old ladies with purple hair and frightening clothes. I'm sure of it.
If I was to tell you 10, 12 years ago, I had very long hair that was purple.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But when I got married to Leslie, my hair was halfway down my shoulders, halfway down my arms with a big
Wow.
purple streak through it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I might show you the photograph one day, but
Oh, yeah.
not for public consumption.
Love it.
Fantastic. Anyway, I'm looking at the clock and I think we're coming to a conclusion. So I just wanted to say, if you are an employer watching this on replay on YouTube and you have questions and you think, maybe I want to know a bit more about this and how I can help my staff, and if I've got staff who are neurodivergent, then please feel free to get in touch. You can get me at andrewmarsh.asperger, Andrew at aspergersmatters.com. Yeah, .com. Good grief, what's the matter with me? Or you can get me on my website, which is aspergersmatters.com, or I'm on LinkedIn, and I'd welcome the opportunity to have a chat about Asperger's in the workplace, how you can help them, what techniques you can do, and be delighted to have a chat. So thank you, Sam, for coming on. It's always a pleasure having you on my my webinar, because you add so much energy to it, and you've got great examples of things, and it's great for you to come on and to talk to you about it, because you're one of us, and you're trying to do the same sorts of things with business, and that's great. And if we can make a difference to one person, one employer, one team, then we're doing a good job. So thank you very much for coming on. Is there anything you wanted to conclude by saying?
I think don't expect neurodivergent people to have superpowers. They're not superheroes, but don't expect them not to have abilities and things they can do. It's not all bad news.
No, indeed. I have my challenges. I have my skills. That's what comes with me. So find out how we can manage and cope with the challenges so that we can develop the skills to help other people in doing what they're doing. That's how I see it. And I have learned from experience to ask the questions, and I'm quite happy to ask questions, because that can lead to very interesting avenues of exploration. because
Absolutely. Seek first to understand.
absolutely,
Never assume.
no, indeed, indeed. So with that, I will say thank you very much for being on the call today, and I'm going to close down the recording until next week. So keep an eye out for LinkedIn on Friday, when I'll be posting what next week's episode will be about. Until then, thank you and goodbye.